Alright, so in the last video on this particular series, I covered Blackbeard. The one from the 1700s and the one from the 1400s often get mixed up. The tales get interwoven. So in the last one, I separated those. But I touched on a few things. One is the fact that the crown, it was constantly a war, all during that time. Not just the British crown, but the French crown as well, and others. At one time, the French executed their own king and queen. At another time, the Russians did the same thing, the Romanovs. At the same time, other countries have done the same thing, all one after another in relative time to history. In fact, the monarchy is kind of a screwed up thing. This video is actually about the monarchy. I want to talk for a minute about the history of the monarchy and what original crown law is and what modern crown law is and how it evolved and why it is the reason that we have ruined the world. It's the reason people are screwed. See, it's all about the money now. It's all about greed. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that'll tell you that greed runs the world. Well, it's technically true. They'll also tell you that there's a series of families that pretty much control everything and run the world. Those used to be royal families. We're going to talk about how they got that way. How they got to the point that they were running the world. So, in this video, we're going to talk about original crown law. Now, I'm not going to whip it out and show it to you. In fact, I prefer you did some research and look it up and see what you can find. There won't be much on original crown law. You'll find British crown law, look it up for different countries, you'll find different things. And you'll see how modified it is in each of these countries. But essentially, it's basically the same until you come to Britain and France and a few other countries where they've changed huge things. Even the countries like Saudi Arabia that still follow it, they have not followed original crown law in a very, very long time. In fact, the last country, and I mean the last country, went away from original crown law in, I think, 49 AD. That is when we were screwed. That is when it started to happen, because original crown law says that you get the benefit. The people are really what it's all about. And basically, the king is chosen from among the people, and he is chosen by virtue of his merit, and it's according to certain qualities that are listed in crown law. Yes, well, technically your king is actually supposed to be your finest warrior. I don't know if you knew that. He's also supposed to be a list of other things. Compassionate, all these qualities are listed. The contestants get together and get tested in accordance with their abilities that are listed. They test all of them. And the person who comes out on top overall, essentially, is the king. Because he's the one best suited for the job. And that's what they were actually looking for. That's what it specifically says. It specifically says it should never go by heredity, because it creates greed and war. See, when the royal family gets the money of the kingdom, that's not what a king is for, to give all the money from the country to his family and friends, and then leave it to his kid. That's not right. But that's what started to happen. Right around 0, when they converted the clock to after death. You ever wondered about that? Anno Domini is what it actually means. AD. It's kind of a sad state of affairs. See, original crown law was all for the people, man. You weren't allowed to have your property taxed under crown law. The crown wasn't allowed to charge you rent for your property. You were supposed to be able to build on the land freely, without interference from the crown. In fact, they were supposed to help you do it. They only taxed you once a year, and it was voluntary. It specifically warns against tax. specifically states the kinds of tax that are okay. And it's appalling to see where it is today and where it went and why. And it's all because of the greed of families robbing countries for their wealth. And these are the families that now run the world. Do you think they want to give that money back? This started a long, long, long time ago. And I can see why there are conspiracy theories about it. Because it was definitely a conspiracy. See, right around that time, about 2,000 years ago, archaeologists will tell you that the kings of the day around the world pretty much seem to have tried to wipe out their history. And there's a history they don't want you to know, because for about the same period of time, about 2,000 years, we followed original crown law, and longer, for many thousands of years, maybe even 10,000 years or more. We followed original crown law. And it was peaceful. We didn't have constant wars back and forth, and they don't want you to know that. That's why these ancient cultures were so advanced. You think war creates advancement? Look what it's done to Iraq. It's almost bankrupted the States and Canada and Britain multiple times. It almost bankrupted France multiple times. These things don't actually speed up a country's development. They slow it down overall, because we're only building weapons. Materials get restricted and taken for other things. Creativity gets twisted and used for war. Man, imagine what the world would be like if we weren't twisted by money. Well, see, it's a trickle-down type of thing. We wonder why society degraded. That's when it happened, believe it or not. Modern history is filled with war over greed. Nothing else. So one royal family can get richer than the others. Back and forth for 2,000 years. And they are not running countries anymore, bud. You know why? Because we murdered the bastards. Kicked them out. Said screw off. Okay, they're still very wealthy families, and they still own and run a lot of stuff, but they're not really running the world anymore. In fact, unfortunately, it was the reason that countries went away from crown law altogether. Because so many of them were so corrupt, and the royal families were so evil. Look at the Wilhelm family after World War II. Kaiser Wilhelm, you ever heard of him? Wait, going back, World War I, baby. That's World War I. Kaiser Wilhelm, huh? Leader of Germany at the time. Did you know that was Germany's last king? Why? Because 3 countries, all led by the same bloody family, decided to go to war over a personal issue that had nothing to do with their countries. Just their own greed, their own ego. Well, that's pretty shitty. And when they did that, they pretty much put an end to the monarchy in Germany. You could look back at the country's history of the world. Every single country that's not a monarchy today that existed back then was then and was peaceful, was better off as an old school monarchy. We wonder why they were so advanced, why they were so cultured, why they were just not thugs bouncing around like retards in trees and waving sticks at each other. It's because we're human beings, and we've always been smarter than that. We were made smarter than that. We were made to be builders, and we are. But that's a whole nother video. I'd like to talk about that one in another video, so I will. In this one, I just felt like it was important that I cover this. Keith.